Hey guys, Chris from Provo Beast Audio Installation, and in today's video we're going to be installing a backup camera to this 2009 Audi A4. Now in this install we're going to show you how to mount the camera in the trunk lid, run all the wiring, and integrate it to an existing aftermarket radio. Let's get started. Now the camera that we're going with is this AutoVox type camera. Essentially it's a license plate mountable camera. It actually bolts back behind the plate itself, and this kit includes the camera, the mount itself and other mount styles that are included within the box, your main power harness for the camera, and your video harness for the camera. This end will bolt up, obviously, to the license plate in the rear of the vehicle. It'll go through this power harness. This needs to go to power and ground to power the camera, whether it's accessory or power and ground just off the reverse light itself. This end plugs into the output of our camera and essentially runs through this cable all the way up to the front of the vehicle. Now, we'll go through step by step on how to get this thing installed. So without further ado, let's prep our harness. Let's head over to the trunk and start taking apart the trunk lid. One more quick thing to note. Audis and Volkswagens and basically German-made vehicles are notorious for having issues with aftermarket backup cameras in their vehicles. Reasoning is a lot of the time there could be that distortion over the 12-volt DC signal, which distorts the image of the camera itself as it's received by your head unit. So there are filters out there, essentially ground loop filters, that help reduce or eliminate any distortion within the picture. Sometimes your picture doesn't even work at all because it's so bad. These little things are only a few bucks, and essentially they just go in line with your power. So essentially you follow the direction. This will receive power and go through to the accessory, and this eliminates that distortion within the image itself. So what you'll do to hook this up, your power and ground of your camera will go to matching color for color, the output of your ground loop isolator, and then the other end will go to a power source within the vehicle. So if you need one of these, we'll link them down in the description so you can wire it in line with your setup. So what we've done is we prepared our filter here with the direction as shown there on the side of the box. We're taking power for one end, and then the other end connects into the power ground of our camera. What we're going to use, this little red wire that hangs off our RCA, we're going to snag accessory power back behind the radio, and so the other end of this RCA looks the same, and this end will connect into accessory power back behind the radio. This could also be used as a trigger wire. We don't need to use it as a trigger because we have a smart harness and it's providing a trigger wire for a radio anyway, so we're going to use this instead as our accessory power. And then this other end, this is the black wire, this just needs to be grounded in the trunk area. So that's how we've hooked it up here. Power comes in from back behind the radio through this RCA. This is obviously grounded, goes through our filter into our power harness of our camera, and that'll connect into the camera itself. So we're going to move our heat shrink up and over those connections that we soldered, shrink them down with a heat gun. T20. Now with our hatch open and accessible, we removed the nuts holding our little piece in so we could pass our wire right through there, tucked it up underneath, and we can get our camera now mounted. Where that comes in is just right up here. Now to get this piece off or loosened, there's 4 nuts. And they're gonna be 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're all 10mm nuts. Remove those so that comes on free. We ran it down, we made our connection right there. Continue to run it down. We hooked up our RCA, we grounded our camera right there. So the black after our power filter, it's grounded right there at that factory ground location. We hooked up with the RCA, and then we ran our RCA cable down through this passage. You saw us pull out our grommets. Then you also saw us pull our wire through the grommet here and fish it on through that. That's probably your hardest thing to do. And then with that on through, we wired that down inside the car and just pulled this back so we could pull our wire out for now. This needs to go all the way to the front, back behind the radio. That end plugs into the camera input on the back of the radio, and then the little red lead that comes off, that's our main power, because remember, that runs through the filter here. So that power needs to go to an accessory back behind the radio, which we've already prepared. So that needs to run forward. Now we can put this all back together. And before we button this up, we want to make sure we test it, especially with the engine running, to ensure that our ground loop filter is working. Then other than that, we can re-button everything up. All right, so we put our grommets back in. With our wire, we just tucked it down here. Then we went down, tucked it down, and then if you pull this on back, there's your access hole. That small black wire, that is our RCA cable. We went through the rear firewall access, and we'll show you where it came in through on the other side. All right, so we got it all reassembled there. Everything's back together. Everything is zip tied nice and tidy up underneath this panel. Got our grommets all back in, and got our panels all back in as that wire ran down through that access hole inside. Now here inside the car, we actually just fed our hand through there and we could fill that hole. And that's where we ran our wire through. So we'll tuck it down between the seat and the panel. And what we're gonna do is work our way forward, tucking it underneath the panel. We're gonna go up underneath the dash into the stereo cavity. So we finished tucking our wire just up underneath this panel. We went up underneath the panel. We went up and over this under panel here. Then we fished it up into the dash using a hanger. There's a little access port, made it nice and easy. All right, so we fished our video wire up into the dash, and we showed you how we did that. This end's gonna plug into the camera input, and remember, this needs to go to an accessory because it's gonna power our camera. What we've done when we prepared our harness and when we installed this radio is essentially here we left an accessory off in the harness, and we're gonna go ahead and connect that. Just like so. Now if you wanna see how we did this harness, or overall how we actually got this aftermarket radio installed in this vehicle and how we prepared this harness, we'll link that video down in the description here for you, which essentially walks you through step by step. So with that connected here, this end will plug into the camera input on the back of the radio. So let's go ahead and now get the radio into the dash. Okay, with all those connected, let's go ahead and start tucking everything back into the dash here. All right, so we're back in the car. Let's do a final test here. Perfect. Let's go ahead and put it in reverse. Awesome. There we are. Actually, it's super nice and clear. Pull it out of reverse. Great. Now remember, our smart harness is providing that trigger. We didn't have to run a separate trigger wire, so that Pack Audio smart harness is telling the radio to go in reverse when we put it in reverse. Now, since we wire the camera to accessory, we should be able to automatically call upon the camera when not in reverse, which we can do. We can jump back out of it, back to our radio. That is it. Everything's working great with this backup camera. If you have any questions on what we did here, go ahead and post a comment below. Now, obviously, we didn't walk you through step by step on how to remove this radio, but we'll link that down in the description so you can see how we installed the doubled in the factory location. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. We post great content on the channel all the time, and we will see you in the next video.